Contact. The weight of command. Commander Zara Keth stood on the observation deck of the XSS Nebula's edge, her violet eyes reflecting the distant stars that painted the void in silver light. Her scaled skin, a deep emerald that marked her as nobility among the Syrian Empire, caught the artificial lighting of the bridge behind her. At 32 cycles old, she was the youngest commander to ever lead a deep space patrol fleet, a position earned through countless battles and unwavering loyalty to the Galactic Council. The Council ruled over 47 different species across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, maintaining order through strict laws and military might. Among these laws, none was more absolute than Protocol 7, complete isolation from the species known as humans. The Council had declared them too dangerous, too unpredictable, too willing to fight against impossible odds. They were a plague that would spread chaos if allowed to interact with civilized species. Zara had never questioned this law. She had been raised on stories of human violence, their wars that consumed entire planets, their refusal to bow to superior civilizations. The Council's wisdom had guided the galaxy for over 2,000 years. Why would she doubt them now? The distress signal. The alert that changed everything came during what should have been a routine patrol near the Kepler Nebula. Lieutenant Voss, her communications officer, turned from his station with confusion written across his scaled features. "Commander, we're receiving a distress signal from Sector 7 Alpha. It's from a human vessel." The bridge fell silent. Even the steady hum of the engines seemed to quiet as every crew member turned toward their commander. Zara felt her heart rate increase, her training warring with curiosity she had never acknowledged before. "Are you certain it's human?" she asked, stepping closer to the communications console. "Yes, Commander. The signal pattern matches their known frequencies. They're requesting immediate assistance. Their ship appears to be caught in the gravity well of a collapsed star." Zara stared at the readings. Protocol 7 was clear. Ignore all human communications, report any contact to the Council, maintain safe distance at all costs. But another protocol, older and more fundamental, echoed in her mind. The Syrian Code of Honor demanded that no being in distress be abandoned to die in the cold void of space. "Commander." Voss waited for orders, his yellow eyes reflecting the internal struggle he knew she must be facing. "Set course for Sector 7 Alpha," Zara said quietly. "Maximum speed." First contact. The human ship was smaller than expected, roughly half the size of Zara's cruiser, but it was clearly built for endurance rather than elegance. Its hull was scared and patched, telling stories of battles fought and won. It spun slowly in the gravitational grip of the dead star, engines flickering as they fought against forces beyond their design. "They're hailing us, Commander," Voss reported. "Put them through." The view screen crackled to life, revealing the human face for the first time in Zora's life. Captain Marcus Kane looked nothing like the monsters from Council propaganda. His brown eyes were tired but determined, his face marked by experience rather than cruelty. When he spoke, his voice carried gratitude instead of the aggression she had been taught to expect. "This is Captain Kane of the merchant vessel Horizon's Dream. I can't express how grateful we are to see you. We've been fighting this gravity well for 6 hours, and our engines are failing." Zara found herself studying his features, searching for signs of the violence and chaos the Council claimed defined his species. Instead, she saw something that reminded her of her own people, the weight of responsibility for those under his command. "This is Commander Keth of the Syrian fleet. We will assist you. Prepare to receive our tractor beam." The rescue. What followed was 3 hours of delicate work as Zora's engineering teams carefully extracted the human ship from the stellar graveyard. The operation required precise coordination, with both crews working together despite having no common protocols or shared technology. Yet somehow, they managed. Throughout the rescue, Zara found herself in constant communication with Captain Kane. He was professional, grateful, and surprisingly knowledgeable about stellar mechanics. When her chief engineer struggled with a power distribution problem, Kane offered a solution that actually worked. When the tractor beam began to overload, he suggested a modification that probably saved both ships. As the human vessel finally broke free from the gravity well, Kane's image appeared on the screen one final time. "Commander Keth, there's no way to properly thank you for what you've done today. You saved 17 lives, including my daughter's. If there's ever anything we can do to repay this debt, no repayment is necessary, Captain. Safe travels." But as she watched the human ship disappear into hyperspace, Zara realized something had changed inside her. The monsters from Council propaganda had been replaced by real people with families, hopes, and the same fears that drove her own species. The questions begin. In the days that followed, Zara found herself unable to stop thinking about the encounter. She reviewed the rescue footage dozens of times, analyzed every conversation, searched for the signs of danger the Council had warned about. Instead, she found competence, gratitude, and a willingness to work together despite the risks. She began to research human activities in nearby sectors, using her security clearance to access restricted files. What she discovered troubled her deeply. Humans weren't the aggressive expansionists described in official reports. They were traders, explorers, and colonists trying to build peaceful lives in an often hostile galaxy. Most surprisingly, they had never initiated conflict with any Dominion species. The more she learned, the more questions arose. If humans weren't the threat the Council claimed, why the absolute prohibition on contact? What was the Council afraid of? The secret communication. 2 weeks after the rescue, Zara made a decision that would change her life forever. Using encrypted channels and careful routing through neutral space, she sent a message to Captain Kane. "Captain, this is Commander Keth. I hope this message finds you and your crew safe. I wanted to thank you for your professionalism during our recent encounter. Your technical knowledge was impressive, and your gratitude was unexpected. I have questions about your people that I hope you might answer." The response came 3 days later, cautious but warm. "Commander Keth, it's good to hear from you. I wasn't sure if we ever speak again, given what I know about Dominion policies. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Your assistance saved my daughter's life, and for that, you'll always have my respect." What began as curiosity became regular communication. Kane told her about human colonies, their democratic governments, their art and music and literature. He spoke of Earth, the blue world where humanity had learned to overcome their own violent nature through cooperation and shared purpose. He shared images of human children playing in alien landscapes, of cities that blended with natural environments rather than dominating them. In return, Zara found herself sharing her own doubts about the Council, her growing belief that the galaxy could be more than a collection of separate empires held together by fear and force. The terrible truth. 6 months into their secret correspondence, Kane sent a message that chilled Zara to her core. "Commander, I need to share something with you, though it may put us both in danger. 3 days ago, our monitoring stations detected massive fleet movements in Council space. Ships are being repositioned toward human sectors. We've intercepted communications suggesting preparation for something called Operation Cleansing Dawn. I don't know what it means, but the timing feels wrong." Zara's blood turned cold. She had heard whispers of Operation Cleansing Dawn in secured briefings, but had never been given details. Using her command codes, she accessed restricted military files and discovered the truth that would haunt her forever. Operation Cleansing Dawn was genocide. The Council planned to systematically eliminate humanity from the galaxy, using fabricated evidence of human aggression to justify their actions. The propaganda she had grown up with wasn't misunderstanding or fear. It was preparation for murder on an unprecedented scale. The choice. Alone in her quarters, surrounded by the weight of terrible knowledge, Zara faced the defining moment of her life. She could report her communications with Kane, claim it was intelligence gathering, and watch as millions of innocent humans died. She could follow orders and maintain her position, her honor in Syrian society, her comfortable certainties about right and wrong. Or she could choose a different path. She thought of Kane's daughter, safe from the gravity well by Xerian technology. She thought of the human children in the images he had shared, playing games not so different from those of her own childhood. She thought of the principles that supposedly guided the Dominion: honor, justice, protection of the innocent. The Council had corrupted those principles beyond recognition. Zara opened an encrypted channel to Kane, her hand steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to do. "Marcus," she began, using his name for the first time, "we need to meet in person. There's something you need to know about what's coming. And there's something I need to ask of humanity." As she sent the message, Zara knew there would be no turning back. She had chosen to defy the most powerful organization in the galaxy to protect a species she had been taught to hate. The consequences would be severe, possibly fatal. But for the first time in her life, she was absolutely certain she was doing the right thing. The stars outside her window seemed brighter somehow, as if the galaxy itself approved of her choice. Soon, she would discover whether human courage was as remarkable as their capacity for friendship. And the Council would learn what happened when someone finally stood up to say no to their tyranny. The game was about to change, and Commander DarkHFY would be the one to change it. The alliance that shook the stars. The secret meeting. The rendezvous point was a forgotten mining station orbiting a dead world in the Veil Nebula, far from any major shipping lanes or patrol routes. Zara had chosen it carefully. Knowing that discovery here would mean certain death for both her and the humans she was about to betray everything to protect. Her modified courier ship, stripped of all Dominion identification, drifted silently toward the coordinates she had shared with Marcus Kane. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she spotted the human vessel waiting in the shadow of the station's massive processing equipment. It was sleek and purposeful, clearly military despite its lack of obvious weapons. The humans, it seemed, had taken her warning seriously. As the airlocks connected, Zara took a deep breath that might be her last as a free being. Once she shared what she knew, there would be no pretending this was anything other than treason of the highest order. Captain Kane was waiting on the other side of the airlock. But he wasn't alone. 2 other humans stood with him. A woman with silver hair and calculating eyes who introduced herself as Admiral Sarah Chen, and a younger man whose nervous energy marked him as someone accustomed to working with information rather than weapons. "Commander Keth," Kane said formally, then smiled with genuine warmth. "Thank you for coming. I know what this must cost you." Zara nodded, studying the 3 humans who would either be her salvation or her doom. "The cost will be worth it if we can prevent what's coming. Admiral Chen, I assume you're here because Captain Kane shared my warnings." "He did," Chen replied, her voice carrying the weight of command. "What we need to know is how much time we have and what exactly we're facing." The revelation. In the station's abandoned conference room, surrounded by the ghosts of failed commercial ventures, Zara laid out the truth that would reshape the galaxy. She displayed holographic star charts showing fleet movements, shared intercepted communications, and revealed the full scope of Operation Cleansing Dawn. "The Council has been planning this for over a year," she explained as the humans studied the data with growing horror. "They've positioned 12 battle fleets along your borders, claiming it's routine patrol rotation. In 6 weeks, they plan to declare humanity a galactic threat and begin systematic elimination of every human world." The young man, introduced as Dr. James Park, a xenopolitical analyst, spoke up. "The timing. They're waiting for the Andorian Trade Summit, aren't they? When all the major species representatives are gathered in one place." Zara nodded grimly. "They'll present fabricated evidence of human aggression, get unanimous approval for defensive action, then begin the cleansing within hours. By the time anyone realizes what's really happening, it will be too late to stop." Admiral Chen leaned back in her chair, her expression unreadable. 47 species in the Dominion, and they expect all of them to approve genocide. "Fear is a powerful motivator," Zara replied. "The Council has spent decades spreading propaganda about human violence, and unpredictability. Most species genuinely believe you're a threat to galactic stability. Kane's hands clenched into fists. How many ships are we talking about? Approximately 3,000 vessels of various classes. Your entire fleet couldn't stand against a tenth of that number. Zara paused, then looked directly at Admiral Chen. But there might be another way. The impossible plan. What Zara proposed was so audacious that even the humans, known throughout the galaxy for their willingness to attempt the impossible, sat in stunned silence for several minutes. You want to attend the Andorian Trade Summit as a human representative, Dr. Park said slowly. Xerian commander, speaking for humanity in front of the entire Dominion Council. Not just speak for humanity, Zara corrected. I want to formally announce the dissolution of Xerian participation in the Dominion and the formation of a defensive alliance between the Xerian Empire and the Human Federation. Admiral Chen's eyebrows rose nearly to her hairline. Commander, with all due respect, you don't speak for the Xerian Empire. You're one officer, regardless of your rank. Actually, Zara said with a slight smile, I might speak for more than you think. She activated another holographic display, this one showing communication logs and coded messages that had been flowing through Xerian military networks for months. I'm not the only one who's grown uncomfortable with the Council's direction. There's a faction within our military and government that believes the Dominion has become corrupt, that it no longer serves the interests of member species. They'd been waiting for someone to take the first step. Kane studied the data carefully. How many are we talking about? Roughly 30% of the Xerian fleet, including some of our most experienced commanders, several colony governors, even some members of our ruling council. Zara's expression grew fierce. My people value honor above politics, Captain. When they learn that the Dominion plans genocide against a species that has never threatened us, that percentage will grow. The alliance forms. Over the next 18 hours, the three species representatives worked to forge an agreement that would have been unthinkable just days before. The humans offered advanced shield technology and medical knowledge that could revolutionize Xerian defensive capabilities. In return, the Xerians would provide detailed intelligence on Dominion fleet movements and strategic positions. But more than technology or information, they were creating something unprecedented, a voluntary alliance between species based on mutual respect rather than fear or domination. The Council rules through strength and intimidation, Zara explained as they finalized their agreement. They've never faced coordinated resistance from member species working together. They won't know how to respond to it. Dr. Park had been quiet for most of the discussion, but now he spoke up with excitement. This changes everything we know about galactic politics. If even one major species can successfully leave the Dominion, others will follow. The Council's power comes from the illusion of universal support. Admiral Chen nodded slowly. It's still incredibly dangerous. If the Council decides to make an example of the Xerian rebels, then they'll discover what humans do when our friends are threatened, Kane said quietly. The calm certainty in his voice sent a chill through the room. The galaxy reacts. News of the Xerian-Human Alliance broke across the galaxy like a shockwave. Within hours of the joint announcement, communication networks were buzzing with disbelief, outrage, and in some quarters, hope. The Dominion Council's response was swift and predictable. They declared the alliance illegal, branded Zara and her supporters as traitors, and demanded immediate surrender of all humans and Xerian rebels for trial. When both species refused, the Council ordered a complete embargo of Xerian space and began mobilizing the very fleets originally intended for Operation Cleansing Dawn. But something unexpected happened. Instead of the quick compliance the Council expected from other Dominion species, questions began to arise. Why was the alliance so threatening? What exactly had the humans done to deserve genocide? Why were the Xerians, known throughout the galaxy for their honor and military prowess, willing to risk everything to protect them? The Altarian Republic, the galaxy's premier trading civilization, announced they would not honor the embargo. The aquatic Delphians, renowned for their philosophical wisdom, issued a statement questioning the Dominion's right to dictate the internal politics of member species. Even some of the smaller, more fearful species began to whisper that perhaps the Council had gone too far. The test of fire. The first real test came when a Dominion enforcement fleet arrived at the Syrian colony world of Kepler Prime, demanding surrender of the rebel government and all human civilians present on the planet. Governor Thane Vex, one of Zora's earliest supporters, refused. What followed was 3 days of tense standoff as Dominion ships blockaded the planet while human vessels raced to assist their new allies. The galaxy watched, holding its breath, as two fundamentally different philosophies of governance faced each other across the void. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Captain Kane's daughter, Elena, now serving as a communications specialist on her father's ship, managed to establish contact with individual crew members on the Dominion vessels. What she found surprised everyone. "They don't want to be here," she reported during an emergency strategy session. "Half the crews are asking the same questions everyone else is asking. Why are they being ordered to attack a civilian population? What threat do these humans actually pose?" Zara seized on this intelligence immediately. Instead of preparing for battle, she broadcast a message directly to the Dominion fleet, using emergency frequencies that would reach every ship simultaneously. "Soldiers of the Dominion," her voice carried clearly across space, "I am Commander Zora Keth, formerly of your own ranks. I stand here not as a traitor, but as someone who remembers the oath we all took, to protect the innocent and preserve peace among the stars. Look around you. What innocence are you threatening today? What peace are you preserving by blockading a civilian colony?" The turning point. What happened next would be studied in military academies for centuries to come. One by one, ships began to withdraw from the blockade. Not all of them, but enough to break the formation and destroy the psychological pressure the Council had been counting on. The captain of the Dominion cruiser Iron Resolve made a statement that echoed across the galaxy. "I joined the fleet to protect people, not to threaten children because of their species. My crew and I are returning to base. Let the Council find someone else to do their dirty work." Within 6 hours, more than half the blockading fleet had withdrawn. The remainder, isolated and demoralized, soon followed. Governor Vex and the human civilians were safe, but more importantly, the galaxy had seen something it had never witnessed before: Dominion military forces refusing orders based on conscience rather than fear. The new reality. In the weeks that followed, the impossible became routine. 3 more Xyrian colonies declared independence from the Dominion. The Altarian Republic formally recognized the Xyrian Human Alliance and opened trade negotiations. The philosophical Delphians announced they were reconsidering their own membership in the Council. Dr. Park, now serving as the Alliance's chief political analyst, summed up the transformation during a strategy meeting. "We've broken the Council's greatest weapon, the belief that resistance is impossible. Every species that leaves weakens their authority. Every act of defiance inspires another." Zara, now carrying the unofficial title of Alliance First Commander, watched the tactical displays showing friendly forces where once there had been only enemies. The human ships, with their efficient designs and innovative technologies, flew alongside Xyrian vessels whose proud traditions now served a cause worth dying for. The price of freedom. The galaxy had changed, but change always came with a cost. The Dominion, faced with the first serious challenge to its authority in 2 millennia, had grown desperate and dangerous. Intelligence reports suggested they were preparing weapons that had been banned for centuries, technologies so destructive that their use would violate every principle of civilized warfare. But as Zara stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching human and Xyrian crews work together with an efficiency that would have seemed impossible months earlier, she felt something she had never experienced under Dominion rule: hope. "Commander," Kane's voice came over the communication system, "we're receiving reports of 3 more species requesting information about joining the Alliance. The Council's support is cracking faster than anyone predicted." Zara smiled, her violet eyes reflecting stars that no longer seemed cold and distant, but warm with possibility. "Then we'd better make sure we're ready to welcome them, Captain. The galaxy is waking up, and there's no going back to sleep." Outside the viewports, the stars burned with the light of a new age. An age where cooperation would triumph over domination, where different species could stand together as equals, and where the simple act of extending friendship across the void could topple empires. The humans had taught the galaxy something the Dominion Council had tried to suppress for 2,000 years, that freedom was contagious, hope was unstoppable, and sometimes all it took to change everything was one person willing to say no to tyranny and yes to something better. The alliance that began with a rescue in a gravity well had become the foundation of a new galactic order. And at its heart, the friendship between a Xerian commander and a human captain proved that the strongest force in the universe wasn't fear or weapons or political power. It was the simple, revolutionary act of choosing to trust.